Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Tell my people I love them, I know them, and I'm coming for them. The name of the song is Alive by Punch Deck. Would you die for me? No. Would you live for me? So in this video, this is going to be the last third of the last video, okay? Because I think a lot of you stopped at around probably 15 minutes or 20 minutes on the last video. The ending message was absolutely important. It's what everything is all about. It's about freedom. It's about emotional freedom. It's about the fact that God's not mad at you. God's not trying to hurt you. God doesn't want to torture you or anything like that. So all that hell and damnation that we're constantly taught is, it's either those people are satanic narcissists, or they were completely misled and they do not understand the Bible at all. So the last video is titled, Tell My People I Love Them, I Know Them, and I'm Coming for Them. And in the image it says, this is God's gift to you. I would highly recommend that you watch the whole video. In this video, I'm going to give a little bit of correction, and then after that, then it's just going to do the last 20 minutes of the video. So here's what I mean when I say, will you live for me? Now that's not me, that's essentially God saying that to you. I'm not saying, oh, pious one, oh, rule-oriented follower, oh, disciple, oh, disciplined one. I'm not talking egotistical stuff. So life is a gift from God, and I break that down in depth about my awakening, about the Alpha, the Omega, the rectangle that was drawn in front of me, and the angels going in, which are you guys, etc., etc. This 3D dimension was designed by God for you as a gift to celebrate your life. This is a gift of celebrating you. And once again, it's a gift from God to you and for you to experience this amazing three-dimensional experience. Sights, sounds, flavors, feelings, emotions, smells. You're supposed to live your life. I didn't say sacrifice something. I didn't say, oh, be miserable, sacrifice for God, be miserable. That sounds like a satanic thing. God's happiness. God's all about happiness and joy, love and peace and harmony. If you don't believe me, you might want to read the Bible again. All right, I'm going to see. Here's the problem. Some people will understand this, but then other people are like, oh, okay, so go to church every Sunday, be submissive, be pious, and be, no, that's not what I'm saying. When God says go and live your life, he says go and live your life. In other words, it's like shake off the doubts, shake off the external shell that life has put upon you, that people have put upon you, and just go live. Be happy, enjoy life. Kiss someone, love someone, make love to someone, eat some Italian pasta, drink some rich red wine, enjoy your life. So my biggest worry is when I said God is saying, will you live for me? I don't mean, and God's not saying this either. I don't mean, go become a pastor, even though your dream is to be a professional fighter. Don't do that. Just, forget no, you're here to live your dreams. It's what God created it for. It's why you're here. You want to go fishing, go fishing. You want to start a business, start a business. You want to ask that girl out, ask her out. Go live. God has his own life. Trust me, he doesn't need you. But he wants you to be happy. He's just saying, hey, I created this experience for you. Go discover. Go create. Go be inquisitive. Be curious. Live with fascination and go after your dreams. So let's talk about sacrifice. I didn't make that very clear in the last video. When how do I say it? Okay, so most people think, oh, well, you got to sacrifice an animal, you got to kill Jesus. No, you've got to sacrifice your shell. You got to sacrifice that external shell that blocks you from feeling emotions, that logical barrier. See, you're sacrificing the very thing that you've been protecting yourself with, not realizing it's the very thing that was getting you hurt. And it's the very thing that's keeping you from flying. You are here to spread your wings and to fly. Let go of your limitations now. Okay, so after this is the beginning of the last third of the last video. So I'm just going to cut right in. So you can open back up to God and live. That's what it's all about. You're not supposed to hide from God. Adam and Eve were never supposed to hide from God. God is asking you, will you live for me? Because God literally lives through all of us and has all of these radically different experiences. When you hide, that means you don't live. That means you hold back from living. It's an action word. And thus, God doesn't get the experiences from you that he was supposed to get. So this was the movie with Margot Robbie and the Joker. I cannot remember his name right now. So this is Harley and Joker. And this is the scene where he says, "Would you live for me?" It's in the Ace Chemical Scene Suicide Squad 2016 movie, okay? So at first he says, "Will you die for me?" Because he was trying to get her commitment, and she's, "I'll do anything." And then he says, "Would you die for me?" And she essentially agreed to it. And he goes, "No, that's not enough." And he thinks, and then he goes, "Would you live for me?" So she thinks about it for a while. She turns her back. Now they're about 2.5 stories up. And she falls backwards all the way down into this vat of acid, of boiling acid. And this is to burn off the external shell that is hiding you from God, from living life. So they go from this black and white scene, or almost black and white, this dark scene, to all of a sudden she's coming out of this vat of acid, and there's all these colors around her, which is the right brain. So I don't know if I mentioned it before, but in the scene, the very first image, she had these glasses on. She was a psychiatrist or psychologist. She was logical. She was in the box. She was completely hidden and blocked off in the closed box of the logical brain. And now she's open to her creative, emotional, spiritual right brain with colors and flavors and sounds and feelings and emotions and life. This is the living God. God is all about life. And I mean, just read the book of Genesis it's all about creation, the emotional, spiritual, creative brain. If you're at a point in your life where you're either too old or something's going on and you can't live your life in the way that you want to, help somebody else live their life to the fullest. That's what this entire channel is all about. That's what I'm about, is helping people to live a deeply meaningful, powerful, and fulfilling life that is worth living. If you just get one message, this whole video is about one message. Step out of the lie and start living your life. It'll open you up to God. You'll be connected to God. You'll have more life, more spirit, more mana, more energy. This is what it's always been about. So during one of the last NLP trainings of the year, so we went to these like 5-week trainings over and over, and the final one, that we were deep. I think we were like the 3rd week into this training, and it goes deep. So we're talking about parts and parts integration and all that stuff. And how do I say this? So essentially what it is I asked 2 really brilliant questions. So I said, the first one was, well, what if we completely heal and integrate all of our parts? So for those of you who don't know, we break off little parts. Now, I've made a lot of videos about this. You might have to go back and find those videos about parts integration. So we break off all these parts when we have trauma at a very young age, from in the womb, during the birth canal, 1 day old, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. So we break off these little parts and we shove them outside of our energy. Whereas at one point we are one whole complete, like a one whole gallon, where when you got scared, you took a droplet and you put it out, and a part of you now has to deal with this situation that scared you, because the core of you is like, screw that, I don't want to deal with that. So you left this little part of you defenseless, essentially. So then when you heal it, it will then come back inside and integrate with the whole and become one. Not one plus a separate part. No, just one. It's kind of like the gallon isn't all the way full. Now it's a little bit more full. So the more you heal and integrate these parts, the more you become whole and complete. So my question was this. I said, well, what happens when you heal all of your parts, even if it takes another 10 lifetimes, etc., blah, blah, blah. And you literally are now just this ball of white energy. And John Overdurf looked at me. In fact, there was a lot of doctors that were in this training. I mean, from Harvard and Berkeley and Stanford and all that. And they kind of went, huh? Like, that was a brilliant question. And John goes, well, here's the deal. The theory is this. If you heal all of your parts, you disappear, because there's no contrast. So you don't disappear. You disappear from this dimension, the 3 dimension, and then you pop into the 4th, or you become. See, here's the deal. It's not like you're not in the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension. You're already there. This is just the dimension that you're conscious of. Now, in those dimensions, you're very conscious of being in those dimensions too. But once you heal this, you pop back in. So essentially, another way of saying that is, you go back inside God. And now you are conscious on the level of God. You become one whole complete with God. So another question I asked is, they were talking about the meta. So the meta is like your consciousnness, which is above you and behind your body, looking down on you. Let's call that the 5th dimension, okay? So then I said, well, and I was kind of being a smartass, and I tend to blurt stuff out. And I said, well, what's the meta to the meta? And the whole room went, huh? Like, they just went pure silence. They were like, now these are a lot of people who've done a lot of philosophy and thinking and brilliant stuff. And the whole room was, I think it was 1,000 people. They just turned and they looked at me like, what the hell? And I immediately apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry, John. I'm so sorry. No, Mike. He goes, Mike, that's a brilliant question. And I'm like, what? Now, you got to understand, I was only about 23, 24 years old. I was essentially this mad scientist, freaking brilliant genius kid that was kind of a smartass popping off. But I really wasn't. I was just like, thoughts would come up and I would just spit them out. Kind of like I had no filter. So here's the deal. I'm going to skip right to God. So here's the deal. At one point in time, no, let me back up to what happens when you can integrate all your parts. John said essentially you'll disappear from this dimension. So here's what happens. In order to exist on this dimension, you have to have contrast, meaning there has to be a part of you that's outside of you that can look back at you. So now you have a sense of, oh, this is me and you're you. Because without that mere reflection image, you don't even know that you exist. So God went through the same thing. Essentially, God was this just pure light, pure energy, just purity. The problem is God didn't even know he existed. So God had to create a part. I know it kind of sounds funny to say that, because I'm not God and I wasn't there. So he created this part, so now he has contrast, and now he can see himself, feel himself, hear himself, etc. So the other theory is that God's actually living through us and our experiences so he can have different experiences. See, here's the thing about you. You go through life the way you go through life, and you believe, and it's not true at all. You think the person next to you is having the same experience. I am telling you beyond a shadow of a doubt, their filters are radically different than yours. I don't care if you were raised in the same family, in the same room. The way they filter things is different than yours. So here's the way I look at life. I want to understand things from other people's experiences as much as possible. And there are some tools that they give you. Rapport skills is one of them, and there's a bunch of different techniques on communication, how to gain rapport and all this stuff. That'll help you have a greater idea and sense of being of what they're going through. There's another one that we call modeling, where you model people's unconscious minds beyond that they even realize they're doing. In fact, a lot of times when I model someone, they don't realize how they're doing something really, really good. They call it modeling for excellence. So you want to model people that are modeling behaviors that you want to take on. So here's the point of all this. That modeling is something that would take a while to explain. So here's the thing. God wanted to have a bunch of experiences because he was just having this one pure experience. And after a while, it got kind of boring. So he broke off different parts and pushed little parts of him outside of his core ball of energy, okay? And guess what? You are each of those parts. Each one of you is a part of God, literally. So when people tell you that you're not worthy, punch them in the mouth, please. When people tell you that you're not good enough, punch them in the mouth. When people say that you are not worthy, that you're going to hell, that you know what? Guess what they're saying? They're telling God that God's not worthy. They're telling God that God's not good enough. They're telling God. I'm not saying that you are God. I am saying you are of and from God directly and literally. You are the light of God. Okay, so don't punch him in the mouth. That was just metaphorical. What I'm saying is you are 100% absolutely worthy of God, and you're going to high places. You've always been worthy. You've always been beautiful in the eyes of God. And I mean absolutely, completely, absolutely 100,000,000% beautiful. God knows that you, the core you, the real you, and the parts of you that broke off are pure light of God, of love. You're awesome. I mean that sincerely. God doesn't just love you. God is in love with you and always has been. And that will never change. No, there's not. Let me say this. There's nothing that you can do that will change that. There's nothing that a demon, that a narcissist, that the serpent in the garden could ever do, even if they successfully trick you, even if they successfully get you to do something wrong or mean or whatever. That will never change God's love for you. Never. In 1,000,000,000 years, and I don't give a shit what some effing pastor says or minister or priest. They're wrong because they're working for the devil. I'm not saying all ministers, I'm not saying all priests, but those who teach the death cult ways, that it's about killing a human body, that it's about sacrificing they are wrong. That is what causes fear, and fear closes you off from God and turns you away from God, literally. Happiness opens you up to God. Love opens you up to God. Now do you understand why they have they've lied to you about making love. They've lied to you about sex. They've lied to you about being beautiful, about being happy, about joy. They told you, oh, what are you, arrogant? What are you full of pride? Yeah, I'm proud of my son. He's walking. Damn right I'm proud. And you know what? God's proud of you too. The idea that every single thing is a sin is a crock of BS. How about this one? When people say, oh, you have self-love, you love yourself? Oh, how sinful, how arrogant. Oh, you're not close to God. No, yourself, literally, look at the white ball. That's God, and that's what's inside you. And Jesus even spoke of this. The body is the temple of the Lord, and the Lord resides within the temple, Jesus Christ. So here's what I'm saying. Stop falling for the lie Even if you, okay, here was what I was going to say. Even if you fall for the lie, even if you do something wrong or hurt someone or do something bad, you're not going to hell. See, this is what narcissists think. They think, well, if I can get them to do something bad or wrong, they're going to go to hell, and I'm going to get them to... No. There's something called by the grace of God. So if you are a part of God, if you are literally of or from God, are you telling me God's going to go to hell? No, it's not going to happen. Do you see that the whole thing was a freaking trick? It was a lie just to ruin your life. During my 6-month awakening, I got lessons every night when I went to bed. The very, very last one, the very last night, it was, and I said this before, it was like blank. I'm like, okay. Now, I was completely asleep, but you would wake up in this other, like, dimension. I don't know how to explain it. You're very conscious. So I'm like, okay, well, what? And there was nothing. And I'm like, because usually God would, like, start, but the minute I was there, he would just start giving me lessons, right? And so this time I was just sitting there for about 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm here. And I realized, oh, God's trying to show me something by showing me nothing. And that was everything. That was the entire, call it, universe. It was nothing. Because everything was pure, positive energy. There was no negativity, and thus, there was no contrast. See, contrast gives you something to kind of compare it to. So when you pluck a guitar string, the only reason why you can hear it is because there's contrast. Without the contrast, you can't hear anything. There's no vibration. Vibration comes from contrast. Your 5 senses, see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, they all come from contrast. Without contrast, you can't taste food. Without contrast, you don't even know that you exist. Even angels right now, they're there, but they don't know that they exist. Angels cannot feel love. They can't see, they can't hear, they can't smell, they can't taste, but they're still there. And they can be called upon and brought down to this level, the 3rd dimension, which is all about contrast. So I would, in this, this conscious, sleep, we call it, and I'm kind of in a classroom, and not really a classroom, I don't see any chairs or nothing, there's nothingness, and I'm like, okay, so there's nothing. And I became very aware of that was the lesson. Everything is nothing, everything's pure. But then all of a sudden, there became this, like, it was like a piece of chalk almost, and a white line went across the bottom, all the way across, it went up, and then all the way left, and then went down, and it was a big rectangle. I was like, okay, and everything was taught symbolically like this. So I waited for a while. I'm like, okay, I don't get it. And I go, oh, the left is the beginning, the right is the ending, the beginning and the beginning. So it was I remember the words omega, the alpha and the omega. So the alpha is the beginning, the omega is the ending. I thought, well, okay, well, what about it? Like, because I never really understood, in church or even in school, like what the hell that meant. And then all of a sudden, there is these little white things coming, little tiny things, and they were falling into this rectangular space, and I'm like, what's that? And I went, those are angels. And you couldn't really see anything though. I'm like, okay, well, now what? And then again, it was quite a while. I'm talking like 5-10 minutes of just staring at this damn thing. I'm like, okay, the alpha, mega, the beginning, the ending. What is this? And I thought, okay. And then what happened in the bottom left corner? I could see something kind of coming, but you couldn't really see it, more like feel it. And right when it got to the corner, there was like a spark. And it was a spark of negativity. At first I thought it was bad, but then from the corner all the way up and across, and everything became 3D. There became lights, colors, sounds, flavors, feelings, everything, tastes, smells. And it was just happiness and joy. It was wonderful. And it was just like, I can't wait to dive into that. And the one thing that I remember feeling, I didn't see it, but I could feel how proud God was smiling. He was so happy to give this to us. And then it just came to me. It was like God sent this to me. And here's what it said. Life is a gift that was meant to be enjoyed. That's it. All the rules that they make up, all the lies that they make up, all the bullshit they make up to try to shame you and blame you and hurt you and do all that narcissistic bullshit, it's all a lie. It's all the original sin to get you to turn away from God and hide. Now do you get it? You're supposed to be here now in the present moment and live this experience. This is God's gift to you so you can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste and have emotions. So be happy. Kiss someone, eat some delicious food, have some red wine from Napa Valley. I'm serious, that's where I'm from. I want you to enjoy your life. This is the message that God sent to me when I was 28 years old. That's about 34, 35 years ago. This is the gift that was given to me to give to you. This is what this video is about. This is what my entire channel is about. And for God's sakes, as my as my deceased brother Gary used to say, don't be crappy, be happy, pappy. Alright, God bless you guys. Promise me that you're going to start being happier. You're going to stop listening to all the shame and bullshit people say and live your life to the fullest. God bless you all. If you like this video, click the subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and if you want, go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you all. I'll see you at the next seminar.